Hey everyone, I'm back, and ho ho ho, mofos. It's Shane on GameTrailers.com, bringing you Invisible Walls episode 190. Hot on the heels of the VGA, is going to talk a ton about anything and everything VGA related, so make sure you stick around for that. I'm sure you guys all have your own opinions on the show. Also going to talk today about Dead or Alive 5, the new Ninja Gaiden. Going to talk in depth about Revengeance, the revenge of a game that people are going to probably feel vengeful over.
Stupidest title ever.
Yeah.
Well, what's better, Revengeance or Transfarring?
You want my head to explode, Scanner style, really?
A little bit.
We are heading down the home stretch here. This is my last show for the year. I will be out on vacation starting this Sunday, so you guys are going to have to soldier on without me next week. There will be a show, and in fact, I believe we have Michael Pachter confirmed for that show, so make sure you come and check it out next Friday. For this week's show, we have Marcus Beer, who you've heard from already.
Bonjour.
Patrick Morales, A Quiet Storm.
Happy holidays.
One of our new employees, Chris Wynn.
Hi.
And hi. And Ryan Stevens.
Yeah. Hey.
So recently we had the pleasure of hanging out with our old pals at Team Ninja, Yosuke Hayashi and crew. Patrick, they showed you both games?
Yes, sir.
First look at Dead or Alive 5.
Yeah, so they debuted Dead or Alive 5 a little while ago, but this is the first time it's been actually playable from the public, so that's exciting.
And what are your impressions? Are you a big Dead or Alive fan to begin with?
Truthfully, not necessarily. I'm a big fighting game guy, as people probably already know out there, but I've never really dabbled in the series. That being said, though, I am pretty excited about Dead or Alive 5. I think the team's got a lot of good ideas behind it. It looks pretty polished even at this stage. They've only shown 4 characters for us to play with, 1 stage, but you can already kind of see where the pieces are falling. There's a huge emphasis on this kind of cinematic style combat, and with that...
How does that work?
Yeah, it ties into one of the new mechanics they have called the power blow or the power move, and basically what that means is that...
power blow.
Yeah, it's Japan. They've got a special way of naming things, as we're all familiar with.
Yeah.
But anyway, the gist of it is that every character can charge up a move, and if they hit with it, then it goes into a very short kind of quick time event, kind of. And that already sets off a lot of red flags for some people.
Yeah, exactly. Right now they're popping off in my mind.
It does, but when I was doing it, it actually felt okay. Because,
is there any defense?
There is. I'll get into that.
It's competitive QuickTime events? Or?
Yeah, so basically what it is that it's a QuickTime event, but it takes place in the span of literally 2 seconds, so it doesn't feel so intrusive. And what happens is that when you hit someone, imagine it goes into like a kind of bullet time effect, and you can point to different parts of the environment, and it'll light up. So, for example, if there's a fence over here, I can target the fence, or if there's like a cliff, I can target the cliff. And wherever I'm pointing at, by the time the little like 2-second QuickTime thing ends, that's where I punch them towards.
Okay, now how do you defend against that? So it sounds cool, but is it?
I think it's pretty cool because it's at the very least different. It's really hard to say how awesome it's going to be once you actually get tons and tons of time to play with it. But just, me and Chris playing it at the event, it seemed pretty neat. One thing that was cool about it was that, say, for example, I knock you off a cliff. There's no defense against that if you get hit to begin with, but in certain contextual situations, it'll come to the point where, okay, I'm running towards you, and I can either get the choice to attack you or throw you off the cliff. And the person on the other side will get another QuickTime prompt on their end saying, okay, should I defend or should I parry? So it's kind of like a two-way guessing game in terms of what's going to happen next. And if you're successful, it goes into a really cool canned animation. And it looks really, really awesome.
Can I ask, environments in fighting games are, for the most part, eye candy?
Yeah, they're usually non-essential to gameplay.
So if you throw someone down, we're used to DOA, changing it mid-match,
Sure.
Switching up the scenario. And
This franchise, the environment is a big deal.
It is.
But it's still kind of a visual thing, though.
No. The big part of the last Dead or Alive was throwing people into obstacles.
Yeah,
that was a huge
Well,
part of the
I guess
gameplay.
that's my question is this about control?
Yes.
Obviously you throw them down there. How much different is the arena at the bottom of the cliff than where you started.
Very much so, because like Shane said, the Dead or Alive series is known for its huge emphasis on stage combat. In some ways, picking the stage is like picking a character.
Sure, yeah.
Because a lot of combos won't work the same way depending on where you're at. So, for example, if you're fighting in a mansion in a Dead or Alive game, you're allowed to do certain combos just because there's a low ceiling. You could bounce them off the ceiling and keep it going, and that affects very much how things play here in Dead or Alive 5. Because if I knock someone off the cliff, I might come upon a stage situation where there are no walls, meaning that, okay, I guess I can't do any wall combos now. So it has a lot to do with tactics in that way.
Quick and fast.
Definitely. I think it still maintains that kind of easy to pick up, easy to play, easy to do combos kind of mantra it's always had in the series. But also it seems like, they're taking a very focused approach to refining it. Yosuke Hayashi is a super serious guy. It seems like he has a lot of insight in terms of what fighting game players want in a fighting game, and I think that's really coming through at least in this early stage of the game.
Now, I think there are probably some people sitting there right now saying, wait a minute, anytime you take control away from me, that's never good in a fighting game.
Sure.
Have they found a way to make it work?
Do you mean in terms of
just with the quick time events?
Yeah.
I just feel like just losing control at all in a fighting game and letting it go to any sort of canned animation always just kind of, like you said, sends off red flags.
Sure. I think there's certainly that concern, but for me, when I'm playing it, it feels like if I do land that power attack, then I've already kind of deserve that quick time event, if it makes sense.
Gotcha.
So anything that happens afterwards is just a consequence of me landing
Of
that
your
first
play.
attack. Exactly. So it's basically your reward for landing it. So
Is it like supers in Street Fighter and stuff? Like, there's a big long animation that's like all flashy and everything. And you lose
Exactly.
control for that too, right?
you can kind of see it that way, actually. So like how ultra combos work in Street Fighter 4, where you have like this really cool move that happens. It's basically the same kind of mentality. You deserve it. It's going to happen. It rewards you in that way.
Now, you also got to check out Ninja Gaiden 3.
Yeah, they also had it there.
I have to admit, I'm a little concerned about this game. I'm a big fan of the franchise. What I've played and seen of the game so far has not been all that awe-inspiring to
Sure.
me. Can you quell my fears a little bit?
I think part of that comes from it just sticking to a lot of what you already know from the series. I doubt that what I've played may change your mind, but if it gives you any insight, it did kind of show me some things that they're going with the series. For one, did you notice that there are kind of like interactive QuickTime events?
Yeah,
now?
they're like the bone sawing.
Yeah.
Which I thought was stupid.
Well, it's two things. One, it's when you land a heavy attack on someone, it goes into like this little kind of Gears of War-y execution moment where if you tap on the button, that's when you kind of like slowly cleave through their body. There's that, but also there are QuickTime events, quote, QuickTime events, where you'll come off a cutscene and then something will happen where it seems like you can act and you actually can.
You have to it's like a sliding under objects and stuff like that. Like I remember a little bit from the E3 demo that, QuickTime stuff was pretty prevalent in that game in general.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem really like a sequel in some ways. It seems kind of like a regurgitation a little bit. It doesn't have the spirit.
Yeah, I don't know
But-
what it is about the game. I'm just
but-
not that excited about it.
I mean, it still looks decent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what's weird is it has competitive multiplayer now.
Yeah,
And
that's
this is
one
the
of the
first time, like
features.
right?
Yeah, how does that
first
even
time
work?
a Devil May Cry or a band stylish action?
Isn't that Dead or Alive 5?
Yeah, well, that's always weird because I mean, these are these sort of games are the modern day brawlers, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Ninja Gaiden has a lot of jumping and stuff like that, but and then they took a lot from fighting games as well, but it always seemed a little too, I don't know, a little too rambunctious to be like have the nuance of of combat.
Right.
So how does that work?
So-
did you get to play it? I know we got
I
some
did,
direct
yeah.
feed.
Yeah, I played a ton of it. So it's not like Dead or Alive like you think, where it's limb-based combat. It actually is Ninja Gaiden. You're running around with a third-person camera trailing you. You got your light attacks, your heavy attacks, your ultimate destruction.
All the same
techniques.
moves.
Your list of
it's
8
everything.
billion moves that you can do.
Yeah. So
Huh.
from the outset, it seems like a cool idea, and I think it's kind of fun.
But wait, where does the other player come in here? So you're running around an environment as
players? They're like 8 people.
So it's just everyone attacking each other inside environments from the campaign?
Pretty much.
Yep.
Bunch of hack and slash. A lot of things are kind of tossed in the air up to chance. You know, you're like, oh, I have a plan. I see a guy below me. I'm on a building. I see a guy below me. I'm gonna jump down and attack. And it's just kind of hard to execute what you have in your mind that you want to do as a ninja, as a badass ninja. And then you jump down and you completely whiff it, and then you get destroyed by 3 people. Like,
Yeah,
that
I
happens
mean,
a lot.
these
the controls
games
are extremely complicated in Ninja
Yeah.
Gaiden games.
These
so-
games are about like climbing your combos. I mean, I guess fighting games are like that too, but with more than single combat. You know, you're not just you versus your mortal enemy. With all these other people, can you actually get like a good air juggle going, or actually get a
can.
combo count climbing without getting interrupted?
You can.
Or is it really kind of just nicking, slicing off a little here and there?
You can definitely. The problem is though, as Shane kind of mentioned, these games are known for I guess you could call it their subtlety and the precision in terms of going through the campaign, really mastering things like the Nightingale Strike or whatever,
Yeah.
Flying Sparrow.
Well, they took out the Flying Swallow, didn't they?
Yes, Flying Swallow.
And I
It's
think maybe
different
the
now.
multiplayer is still there. Is that what you said?
It's a different move, but it kind of does the same thing.
No joke.
Because I thought maybe that's why they took it out, is because of the multiplayer. Because otherwise, you would just have people just spamming the Flying Swallow over and over. Because
It's-
one move and it decapitates.
It's hard. It's hard to land and has a short range, and it doesn't always decapitate. So they nerfed
People
it.
do spam that attack though.
Yeah.
Like that's one of the main things of that.
Yeah.
What I've noticed.
But like I was getting at, it definitely tries to get at some of the subtlety and precision of the single player feel, but it's kind of
Wait, what are you guys laughing about?
I'm just thinking of all the disappointed people that are listening to the show who are like, why didn't Marcus just make a joke about the flying swallow?
I am being respectful to the fans of the Ninja Gaiden franchise because I'm not really one of them, and I wanted people to actually enjoy the
Actually,
conversation
I think you were
and all
eating
the great
something
stuff.
while we were...
No, actually, I've got no food. I'm on a diet. Seriously.
Anyway, sorry to interrupt, Patrick.
no worries. So yeah, I think when you have a multiplayer mode that's competitive and you have like tons of other ninjas fighting each other, you lose a little bit of that precision. You lose a little bit of that nuance. And I still think it's kind of fun in a chaotic sort of way, but it was definitely a little broken at the same time.
What kind of rankings will they have for that? Because, I don't want to jump into a game with a bunch of people who are just spamming that same move. I want to play against people who explore the entire control scheme and really use all of Ryu's moves. Is there going to be a way to make sure that I match up with people like that?
I want to say yes, but they really haven't divulged that sort of information yet. The only way I could kind of guess that is because there's a level up system. So there were some stations that were set up with like level 25 characters, some people with like level 5 characters. So
No perks or anything like that, though,
Special
right?
moves.
Yeah, that you unlock as
you unlock
play,
special
you
moves.
match.
Yeah.
it seems you unlock special moves, so there's definitely some kind of tiering system at play here. One cool thing though that I could mention is that if you do like a Super Mario style walk with the analog stick where you just like gently nudge it, you go into like a stealth camo mode.
Oh.
And if you hit triangle or Y on someone while you're in that mode, you instantly kill them.
Oh.
So
Can they see you?
it's like the Predator where it's like optic camouflage. You see like a
Ah.
distortion. So it's kind of neat. You can go different ways about killing people, which I think is neat.
Now, of those two games, which one are you most excited for?
I think just in terms of new factor, Dead or Alive 5 definitely. That being said, I love stylus action. I love Devil May Cry. I love Bayonetta. So, Ninja Gaiden 3 is on my radar as well. But I definitely feel your sentiment where it's cool, but not necessarily awesome.
Swallow.
Crap. Now how am I going to get to the VGAs?
All right, so now it's time to talk about the Spike Video Game Awards. Aired over the weekend live this year, which means that it wasn't on a tape delay, and we were able to live stream it to our U.S. and Canadian users.
It was
Sorry,
also
people in Europe.
It was streamed in the UK on clicked.com, which is an MTV subsidiary over there, apparently.
Yeah, and folks, I saw a lot of anger on my Twitter feed over this. But if you went and looked at my tweets, I mentioned about 80 times that you can only watch it if you're in the U.S. and Canada. So
Yeah.
it's just the way it is. They sell the show overseas, and if they were to let us live stream it to you guys, those deals would be shot. Blah blah blah.
And let's clarify that this isn't a Game Trailers production. When we
Right,
say this
this is
every
produced
year,
by Spike
this
TV.
is Spike TV out of New York, and this year they brought in Mark Burnett Productions, the guy who's done the Oscars or
Yeah.
Survivor.
I mean, all we do essentially is help promote the show because it is, our sister company, and it's important for us to help support those guys. But we have no say in how the show goes down, or who they bring into the show, or the writing in the show, or
Where we get to sit.
I'm a part of the editorial council, so I have a very small say in the nominees and the winners. But other than that,
of Geniuses.
so first, before we go on to the actual awards and who won and who didn't win, let's talk about the actual production of the show. That's always the part of the show everybody gets their britches in a bunch over. How do you guys feel about this year's show compared to, say, last year's show?
All right, so I'm going to throw this out there that the VGAs they're not really for the hardcore gamer anymore. I mean, unless you tune in for the reveals, you get to see the trailers. That's the interesting thing. I don't think if you're
But they've never been for the hardcore gamer.
It's but it's the hardcore gamer who tunes in and feels betrayed every time. I think from my perspective of sitting up on the bleachers, watching the show, sitting next to the awesome Mega 64 guys who kept me in stitches all night, I actually thought it wasn't a bad show.
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed it. I had fun.
Did I think that it showed the industry in a positive way? No, but it's the video game equivalent of the MTV Movie
Do you think
Awards.
it showed the industry in a negative way, though?
Look, I think the teabagging was kind of stupid.
I thought it
to
was
be honest
funny.
with you. Where you were sitting, you were getting more drink than we were, obviously. This is my suggestion for the next VGAs, and I think this is workable because Spike is part of Viacom, and another channel called Comedy Central is part of Viacom. Get the South Park boys, Trey and Matt, to produce the VGAs next year. No, I think honestly, if we're gonna go this way and have something irreverent, I felt a lot of the jokes. They missed the spot. They
I
really
thought it
did.
was funny, man.
I thought
I
lot
disagree
of
with that. I thought the jokes actually were legitimately funny this year, whereas in past years, I would agree with you. I thought they were funny. I laughed.
when I'm more entertained with the 4 guys sitting next to me and we're making up our own jokes, which are way more funny than the ones on the stage to us, and we were sober as well, and not stoned. I think
Mescaline?
I think there's an issue there. I think, like I said, I think the writing was a little off. I think Zach Levi, he tried his best,
He
and
was fucking great.
He's a bona fide gamer.
Yeah, that dude's legit.
He's a huge nerd, and he tried his best. But I just think we discussed earlier. I mean, some of the AR stuff was.
I think see that's the other thing. Where I was sitting, I could not see the AR at all. So
Well,
those parts of the show, I didn't even really pay attention to.
Well,
them
no
because
one could really see it there at all. They would rerun it during the commercial breaks for us in the audience. But I mean, I looked at that stuff, and it's like, 5 years ago that was kind of cool. Now it just seems cheesy.
I thought the host was amazing, man. And
Yeah, I
if
thought
you
he
could
did a
sit
good
where
job.
you could see the teleprompter, almost everything he was saying was ad-libbed. Like,
Yeah.
he wasn't reading off the script at all. Like, that guy just knows his shit.
When I was
They
actually-
should bring him back. They should book him right now
And
for next year.
even if he wasn't funny all the time, you could tell that at least he was sincere about it.
And I think
He-
also
I mean,
sometimes when the
I'm
jokes
not-
fell flat, he got that they were falling flat and kind of did a little wink like, yeah, that sucked, and I know it sucked.
I'm not criticizing him because, like I said, I think he did it. He's a hardcore gamer and he did as good a job as the script allowed. I think the fact that they don't have some people in who actually I don't know who wrote this. I don't know who wrote it. Whether it was a team of Hollywood writers,
I honestly don't know
or
either.
who basically just cribbed from it needs better writing. We need to see more awards.
That is the
do
one thing
need
I
to
would
see more awards.
definitely
Yeah.
agree with. They have to give away more awards.
They did.
Why?
This is the least amount they've ever done.
Oh yeah, I mean it's called the Video Game Awards. Just using the plural form of that almost makes it false because they only gave away 4 I think it was
Yeah.
4 awards the whole
Yeah,
show.
I felt really bad because a lot of really great games that came out this year got short shrift. Like Mortal Kombat, that was an amazing game.
Yeah.
And they gave
Got
that
no
award,
recognition
yeah, like
on the show
backstage.
at all.
And yet that didn't get its minute in the sun because we had this stupid NFL Blitz cover vote.
Yeah.
Which I know we want to get the audience watching, we want to get them texting and tweeting, but it's like, I'm sorry, there's gamers and I'm actually gonna talk up the gaming audience here. Most gamers are not the people who will watch the MTV Movie Awards and get spoogey over the Kardashians or Will.i.am or whatever. They want to see fucking cool games. They want to tune in for the reveals, but they also want to see the people that they recognize, the Todd Howards, the Kojimas,
They saw those
the
guys,
Miyamotos, but not only those guys.
Has there ever been a show with Miyamoto and Kojima on the same stage?
But
Ever.
they want to see
Ever.
They
Never.
want more of that, and they want less of unless
Felicia Day.
I love
For charity.
I love
For
Felicia
charity.
Day. It was for charity, but again, that felt as strained as trying to when you're constipated and trying to take a dump. It was really, really strained.
Yeah, that
and
was-
she again, it was for a very worthwhile cause, but again, it just
Double Dare.
felt it just felt so strained across the board. And as an industry, we're so much more capable. What I would suggest for the VGAs next year, if we can't get Matt and Trey, is that before the show actually airs, as part of the pre-show, which could be streamed live on the website, is that the other awards are given out.
We did that. We
there were-
actually gave away. I think we gave away more awards on the pre-show.
I
than
couldn't get
the
the
actual
show working on my
Really?
phone.
It was
Yeah.
close. I think we gave away 3 or 4 on the
Okay.
pre-show.
Well, I mean, there's
It had like 3 more
3 or 4
exclusives,
out
too.
of how many awards, though? I mean, there was, 20 awards all told?
Yeah.
So let's
a
have
lot.
everybody in the room who's nominated. Let them go up, have the, start 90 minutes, 2 hours early.
Some
Let
of the
them
awards
have
were
their
given away
moments.
if you're there, you didn't know it, but some of the awards were given away in like bumps out when they go to commercial. Like they'd have like a little video package that would show a couple of them, but still, there's
It's
nowhere
like,
near enough.
let these people get up on stage and be greeted by an audience of their, of their peers and get the respect they deserve. We do need something like that in the games industry. We do need something where it's like, the guy, if you look at the Golden Globes and the Emmys and the Oscars, they perhaps have a separate awards show which is more, tech based. But those guys get their moment in the sun, and so many of the developers are so excited for a nomination from the VGAs that I did see somebody post over the weekend that maybe they suggested it should be changed to the Video Game Extravaganza. Pull the awards out and just put the awards in a separate program, and I think that might be a good idea.
I don't think that's a good idea. I mean, I think a big part of this, some people actually, I think more people actually liked the show this year as far as like the gaming verse and what I've seen on Twitter and Facebook. I think everyone's unanimous in saying they need to give away more awards. I don't think anyone disagrees with that. Anyone who loves games and respects games, I think that's 100% on the nose. But I think also like these people who hate the show, maybe they need to learn to laugh at themselves a little bit more. Like, I feel like people who are unable to laugh at themselves or something that they enjoy, like there's just kind of a little bit of their soul missing. Like,
Look, I think we can all.
it can be enjoyable to laugh at yourself and kind of get some enjoyment out of the funny things that we do. It's like you don't have to take everything so deathly serious.
We do laugh at. I think a lot
Would
of
you
us
go to a gaming awards show just as an attendee that was like the Oscars, where you sit there quietly the whole night?
You know what? We
and
had
you have to
we had
wear
this
like a
conversation.
tuxedo.
We had exactly the same conversation 12 months ago,
and it lasts 3 hours with no entertainment.
No, I'm not saying that is the ideal. And again, we are actually rehashing exactly the same conversation we had 12 months ago. And I will say that we need a balance between them. That's why I'm suggesting perhaps making it longer, making the awards, the majority of the awards being given out on the pre-show, streamed online, so people can tune in and people can get their acceptance in 5 minutes, 5 minutes of glory, so they can thank their peers, because that's what it's supposed to be about, is revealing cool games and giving these people awards. But I mean, going back to the laughing at ourselves thing, we do laugh at ourselves, but I think it's also
we do, but
I think a lot of gamers have the capacity of laughing at themselves, but they feel that when it's outsiders like Mark Burnett's writers.
But they don't know who wrote the show. It could have been me that wrote the show. They don't know.
We know it wasn't you who wrote the
now
show.
I just said it, but you didn't
we
know
know
that
it
when
wasn't
you
us.
watched the show.
We know it wasn't us who wrote the show. But I mean, I'm just trying to give you a
looking
general
at Patrick
perception
over there.
that we're looking at possibly
You wrote it,
outsiders,
didn't you, Morales?
viewing
go.
outsiders viewing gamers as, oh look, here's the teabagging sketch. They'll all love that. They love the balls in the face. It's funny. Had they dragged Bobby Kotick up and teabagged him, I would have pissed myself. But doing it once. That was fun.
Well, they
when you
did
go- when you go
teabag
over.
the guys who made
but when
Call
they-
of Duty.
Crickets.
So let's move on. I think we've kind of talked about the actual production of the show at this point. I still think it was better than it was last year, but I think it is moving too slowly to better. It needs to make a drastic step
It's probably the best you can get when it comes
with that
to
framework of a
Yeah.
show.
The opening skit was the best they've ever done. With
Yeah, it was pretty good.
the integration.
Yeah.
The
So
one
let's
of the
talk about
games.
the reveals, which is why most of the people who watch Invisible Walls actually watch the show. I think
Just
they
to go
all
back,
agree.
just to go back to the actual awards for the best platforms. They did get that right this year. Batman, Uncharted deserved an award. Portal, obviously Skyrim is Game of the Year, and even though we have some issues with Zelda was the best game of the year for the Wii.
Yeah, that's kind of an easy one.
Well, it was that it was that one. Although I do think was it Just Dance 3 got robbed in the motion category.
All right, so let's talk about the reveals. I think we would all agree that The Last of Us was the best reveal there.
Yeah,
It's the
new
biggest
games.
one.
New games are always going to be. I don't know. I mean, Metal Gear is definitely shocking, but we'll save
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
But
well-
brand new game. Naughty Dog, not making an Uncharted game.
Been working on it for over 2 years. I was shocked to
Some
find
sort
out.
of zombie monster apocalypse type
What
thing.
I'm excited about is I maybe I'm reading too much into the trailer, but when she's going through the corpse and she finds the bullets, I got this idea of like resource management.
Just because she's counting through each one.
Yeah, that scared me a little bit, actually. I was like, I don't want to.
No,
I
come
got
on,
3
man.
shotgun shells left.
Resource
boy, oh boy.
management is in a Twitch game is interesting, and people haven't done it in a long
It's
time.
Resident Evil. I mean, that's
do we
what
know
that
it's
game
a-
was built
do we
on.
know if it's a
If
Twitch
Resident
game,
Evil
though?
4 and 5 got rid of
We have
resource
no idea.
management.
Yeah, we don't know if it's a Twitch
Oh
game.
yeah, no. Like I said, I'm going out on a limb here, but I'm wondering if Naughty Dog's going to take a stab at some survival horror tropes. Because survival, I mean, other than like what Amnesia, there hasn't really been anything.
Well, I mean,
It's-
they
in a while.
found a way to create their zombie game. I mean, that's really what it's come down to. Whether they're a part of a virus or a fungus or whatever, they're half plant, half human. I mean, ultimately, it's their zombie game.
Triffids, right?
Everybody was at the VGAs and they all got infected, and then they came out to the VGAs and they became zombies.
Now, did you hear about the whole thing about how Uncharted 3 actually ties into this game? The very first room in Uncharted 3 where you're in that bar room brawl, if you go behind the bar, there's a newspaper underneath the bar that actually teases The Last of Us.
I think that's just like an Easter egg. I don't think it's really like a true connection, right?
Well, no. I'm not saying that it actually means the games
Okay.
are related.
It's
Although
just
I have to
it's
say,
just a throwaway, but those sort of
it's
things are
cool, and it's also a
Yeah.
little Easter egg. And also, the lead character looks a whole lot like Drake about 15 years after Uncharted 3. And the voice, although they say it's not Nolan North, sounds a whole hell of a lot like him. In fact, I thought it was him, and someone's like, I think I saw someone from Naughty Dog at the after party. They're like, no, that's not him at all.
Yeah, and apparently it's not Ellen Page.
Yeah, which everyone's saying it looks like her, too.
I still think it totally looks like her.
Well, I'll say one thing that's encouraging is having a team as skilled as Naughty Dog work on a zombie game. Because it feels like a lot of the times, other than the Resident Evil franchise, you're kind of getting like these B teams working on them. I think it'll be interesting to see a game with their production values and their sensibilities set sort of in the apocalypse.
Did
Yeah.
anybody else get a Walking Dead vibe?
I actually got an
not really.
enslaved vibe, and it's funny because the lead designer on the game actually came from Ninja Theory.
Ah, that's interesting.
I mean, Walking Dead doesn't have the. I mean, Walking Dead uses those, slow lumbering zombies, and
Yeah.
these seem to be like,
Crimson
the
Heads.
28 days later kind of fast paced.
28 days later, that's another great
Also,
example,
Walking Dead
actually.
has a huge group of people trying to survive together.
Well,
Maybe it gets to that eventually, but here you just have the two.
Who is better than writing great supplemental characters than Naughty Dog?
Yeah, I'm excited for it. Definitely the one I'm most excited for from the show. But there are other reveals. Let's talk about Epic's new game, Fortnite.
2 weeks?
I just shared with you guys that right now it's rated a 5.8, that debut trailer on GameTrailers. Definitely the worst crowd response from anything from the VGAs. What do you guys think, though?
I liked it.
I thought it was cool, quirky.
I'm a little over tower defense, and I think everyone's getting that tower defense vibe.
Do we know for sure
Is
what
it
it is?
Tower
though?
Defense or like Minecraft? I can't figure it out.
Both. But
Yeah.
I mean, tower defense always has that building aspect.
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
mind
again, we're
defense.
going out on a limb, but I don't know. I liked making forts when I was a kid. Are they gonna be like mattresses?
I
and
mean,
stuff?
it actually it did take like 3 days for me to actually figure out that the title is made up of the words fort and night, and you basically defend your fort at night.
Yeah.
But it gave me, I love this whole resource management. I'm not over tower defense, and if somebody
still
comes
like
with
it
a
too,
really, really
sadly.
good tower defense, I'm into that. But I think with Epic behind it, there's going to be more
they
than
are
just tower defense.
Yeah, they
You would
are
hope.
creative fellas. I mean, Unreal Tournament. It seems funny to say, but that game was actually trailblazing back in the day.
yeah.
Gears of War. Yeah, I know that. What was it? Kill Switch, but Gears of War pretty much made
Win Back, Kill Dot Switch. There was a bunch
yeah,
of games
Kill
that did it
that Switch,
first.
but they kind of put it on the map.
Yeah.
They definitely had a hand in Bulletstorm, which take it or leave it is a unique
Creative.
game.
It's very
and
creative.
Infinity Blade. Again, I'm sure Cliffy's flying
Probably
over to Utah every once in a while to
Best iPad game.
And the graphical style that touched on the sense of humor. I mean, it seemed almost Dungeon Keeper-esque in some of the humor and the graphical style.
I think people
I'm
are just shocked.
I-
It's
yeah.
like, look, it was the farthest thing from anyone's mind. When everyone heard new Epic game, everyone's assuming, okay, it's probably not going to be Gears, but it's going to be something like it, very gritty, very violent, huge monsters, blah, blah, blah.
Well, they showed that GDC demo. I can't remember what the game was called. But with the
It's
Unreal
like their
Engine.
new Unreal Engine tech.
It's not The Witcher, but it was something like that, The Pilgrim or something like that. And it was insane.
It looks amazing, yeah.
And it's like, nope, that's not a game.
I gotta give him kudos for going totally in a
balls.
different direction to what we're expecting, and we don't
remember what it's
know
called.
if it's. Do we know it's a full price game? We don't know when it's coming out. We don't know anything about it.
Yeah, no,
It's just something
Cliffy
that-
was saying, like, ha ha ha, I love seeing all this guesswork. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah. Meanwhile, his video's getting tanked on GT.
It did feel like kind of a bait and switch though when they finally showed it
Yeah, I
off.
would maybe agree with that a little bit.
Just a little, but that's also unfair because you had no idea what it was at the same time.
So what was the bigger disappointment, Fortnite or BioWare making Command
Oh,
and Conquer
yeah.
Generals 2?
Well,
Forget
considering Fortnite wasn't a disappointment and a pleasant surprise to me, I would have to say that despite BioWare being one of my favorite dev teams and Command and Conquer being one of my favorite PC franchises of all time, yeah, I'm fucking worried about this.
Why? Why is that?
I think that
You
it's
think it's a
going.
waste of their time for BioWare to make this game?
Well, I mean, they've created this new team to do it, and we don't know much about them, but I think it's going to get consoleized out the yin yang. And I loved my old school
See, I
Command and Conquer.
I can't wait for when they replace moral choices with, are you going to build tanks or aircrafts? You know, and that's going to be Renegade or Paragon.
There's a wheel.
Yeah, it's
menu.
like, tanks.
I mean, BioWare have a phenomenal track record. We know they can execute great stuff, but yeah, I got to say that the two BioWare
That franchise
trailers.
kind of needs a little kick
I don't
in the
even
ass
know
right now.
which one was Generals. I mean, there's 40
Yeah.
Command and Conquer games. What was Generals 1? I honestly don't know. I'm
It was
showing
pretty
my
good.
ignorance.
CNC, there's been Red Alert, there's been Tiberian
But is it-
Wars, there's
is
been
it-
Renegades, there's been Generals, there's been, I don't know. I mean, it all went crap after CNC Music Factory. went down.
It's good. It's good. But I think that
Things that
franchise
make you
needs
go,
a kick in the ass a little bit. Like, it was kind of floundering there, so maybe this is their last-ditch effort to try to keep it relevant.
Yeah, they said Command and Conquer 4 was the last in the main series, so
Right.
I guess that's whatever. Marketing.
So what else? What were the other reveals there?
Well-
A new trailer for Mass Effect 3, which I loved. Marcus hated.
Well, I really got this Gears of War vibe up from it.
Yeah, I can see that.
Which I can see why it probably appealed to you more than me. I wanted more story.
Oh,
I
but-
wanted to see more about, two months away from launch.
That's brilliant marketing though, because
Yeah.
who's watching the VGAs?
Yeah.
It's the bros, and they're like, "Whoa, Space Gears of War." Yeah. I'm gonna pre-order.
What I
that.
really liked about it was just the two massive creatures clashing together and what implications
pretty
that
cool.
may have in the game itself. Do you actually, ally with one of these creatures and it fights for it? Like, how does that work?
Is it the Ragnar King?
Right. Like, I just felt like it
Impart your save
that
data.
trailer gave me some excitement as far as trying to figure out, okay, maybe I don't know everything about Mass Effect 3 at this point.
I was just hoping for more story stuff because remember 12 months ago when they showed Mass Effect 3 for the first time and you had Big Ben there and it was like
Yeah.
it was recognizable. You were back on Earth and you looked like you were in generic desert number 382.
I'm sure it's still there. They were just showing a different side of it.
And we've got 2 more months, but I'm hoping I've still pre-ordered it because I'm a sucker.
So we'll get to Revengeance in a minute, but what were some of the other reveals?
Alan Wake's Alan Wake.
Yeah.
You mean Alan
Mr.
Drake?
Scratch.
It was a little-
Alan Drake's American
Worst
Gothic
name ever.
Uncharted
yeah,
4.
Whatever.
Or I guess now he's fighting
It's
against
fine.
himself or his alter ego.
His alter
or
ego.
something.
Weird
You know-
DLC, XBLA kind of
It's a
game.
DLG. It's a DLG, not
yeah,
a DLC.
yes.
Take a
So is it a full-length game or is it just DLC? Do we know
we
yet?
don't know, but they've also announced that it's coming to Steam as well. It's going on the PC, which is good. I think it looks cool. I really had a lot of love for Alan Wake, and I think it got
Yeah, I
kind
enjoyed
of
it too. I think it was one of those
massacred.
underrated games.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
that's-
think
it's
it
really
just got massacred in the marketing.
Really, really fun.
Yeah, and if it's one of the games that I recommend. If you got some money spare, go pick up a used copy because it's just a great storytelling, kind of scary experience. It's almost like a Stephen King movie where the ending doesn't suck.
Diablo cinematic. Great. It's
Did
great, but I've
huge
never.
numbers.
But I don't think I've ever been so underwhelmed by a Blizzard CG
I would
trailer.
agree.
I think it's just
Yeah.
because you're used to that kind of caliber,
Right. But, I mean, they
yeah.
set the bar really
But
high.
I also didn't want to see an intro,
I
the
like-
intro cinematic to the game. I mean, I'd much rather wait. I'd rather wait and see that. I mean, it
well,
was
especially
Diablo.
after
We
you see
all
it, and
know.
it's not that great.
Well, plus we've
No,
already
it was good.
We've already
yeah,
played.
but-
We've played the beta. I mean, I was hoping that if there was something going to come
Beta.
from Blizzard, it would have been whether it be a new IP or something more of the new StarCraft or just.
Well, I was hoping they were going to put the fucking release date at the end of the
that
trailer.
would have been great.
You know,
Yep. New remake of the first Tony Hawk.
I think that's cool.
Yeah. $15 game.
Are they going to have the dead Kennedys still on the
Oh,
side?
this-
yeah.
this-
The
this is
music
actually-
is the most important part.
Well, it's funny you say that because a post was made this morning, Wednesday morning, online that one of the producers said that he doesn't think the music is going to make it in this version because of licensing
Bargain
issues.
bin.
Well,
Yeah.
truth be told, it's not going to go in a bin at all because it's DLC. The
Oh,
other
is
part
it?
of it too
Okay.
is that you can kind of stream your own soundtrack. if
Yeah,
you want to
exactly.
now.
And I got to say, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 was a brilliant game, and it's certainly, even if they didn't HD it, if they put it out on SD on the current consoles, it would still be more enjoyable than the last 3 Tony Hawk games.
And they chose the warehouse level, which is the most iconic level in all Tony Hawk games. So I think they made the right choice in promoting it. So I think that's interesting. At least I'll probably get that and play it for a little bit.
I am curious if they're going to have the manual and the revert.
I don't think so. I mean, I
Put
think the
into
gameplay
it.
will stay true to
It's
the
just
first
HD?
two. Yeah, 'cause the manual and the revert came in 3.
Manual was in 2, revert was in 3.
Right, and that allowed you to connect to objects
Yeah,
on the
that's
flat
made
ground,
it
which
totally
completely
crazy.
changed
Yeah.
everything. Yeah. All right, so kind of wrap up discussion on the VGAs here. Let's go around the horn. We haven't done in a while, and give a letter grade for this year's VGAs. Marcus, I'll save the worst for first.
I need to think about it because I've actually been, I've been working on some posts this week where I've actually been dissecting the VGAs, and my thoughts are still burbling along on the actual production itself. So come back to me.
So you think in an extra 15 seconds you'll have found that?
Well, no, I'm looking at my notes right now.
Oh, got you. Patrick.
Just for me as an attendee, it was my first time ever going to the VGAs. I've always just watched it on TV in years past, but I actually had fun at the live event. And as I've said before, I think in terms of a production, by a white collar corporate, run show, I think it was as good as it could get. So probably like a B. Yeah.
All right. Chris.
First time also going there. I'd probably give it a B because of The Last of Us. In terms of like big reveals compared to last year, I don't think it lived up to like Batman and Skyrim and all that. So
Yeah, last year was pretty stellar.
that was
for
huge.
reveals,
Yeah.
man.
I
So
thought
this year, just The Last of Us is the only real game that got me super
Well, I
excited.
think we're also coming off such a great. I mean, the reveals from last year are all the games we've been spooging
That are
over
playing
this
now.
year. I mean,
Exactly.
this
They
has-
were good
this has
reveals,
been
but they
the
were
best
shitty
year in a
trailers,
long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
personally. I'm going
Ryan.
to make it a triple B. I don't like award shows at all.
Yeah, I can't stand them.
Like, I understand why people, I think give people the respect they're due, but like people going up and watching 100 people say thank you, I mean, I know I'm going to sound like an asshole. I'm not, but that's not appealing to me. But then this really short format ADD jump all around, whatever. I like the opening skits to the Oscars. That's what I'll watch. I like the opening skit this time. I thought it was good. It was an all-around good show. I think they are kind of edging towards the mainstream a little bit better without completely isolating the core.
Yeah, I think I'll just make it 4 in a row. I think B bordering on a B plus. It's very easy to sit back and say it should be this way, it should be that way. But I agree with you 1,000%. I can't watch more than 10 minutes of the Oscars, and I love movies. Award shows are kind of going the way of the dodo anyway. Ratings are down for pretty much every award show across the board, except for like the VMAs. I think it was respectful to people like us who really love games. I thought the jokes were funny. I had a blast while I was there. I had a lot of fun sitting there. I couldn't imagine if I was at some place sitting in a tuxedo for 2 hours, like you said, watching people go up and say thank you for 2 hours. That would drive me bonkers. So I think they did a good job of kind of finding the happy medium this year. I agree the reveals not quite as good as last year. Still some pretty good stuff. So yeah, B, borderline B plus.
All right, I'll give it a C plus. It was good in parts. I think the actual awards themselves, the actual awards, the winners, most of them were deserved. I think some of the reveals were pretty damn cool. They've got the right host, and
Yeah,
they've got.
for sure.
It's basically a C plus with a can do a lot better.
All right, so we're going to wrap up the show with what was easily the most controversial reveal at the VGAs, Metal Gear Rising, no solid, Revengeance. And I think we now know why they've dropped the solid out, because it's...
They certainly dropped a solid.
Yeah, really polarizing this game. Metal Gear fans seem like split right down the middle. Some love it, some hate it. Before I get into the details, and so what happened was the VGAs happened, and then the following Monday, 2 days later, there was a 3-hour event where we had a chance to sit down with Kojima and Inaba from Platinum Games. And they basically went through the whole process of how Platinum came to ultimately develop the game. I'll talk about that in a second, but first let's just talk about the game itself. What do you guys think? Obviously way different from any Metal Gear. Over the top a la Platinum. I mean, he picks up a Metal Gear, throws it into the air.
It looked like Ninja Gaiden.
A little bit.
You definitely get the Vanquish Bayonetta sensibility.
Bayonetta
from
maybe
it.
a little more, yeah.
I guess we can't answer this, but are they completely done away with the Afro Samurai slicing?
No.
It seems that they've changed the way of
There's gonna be
when
that
you
much
do it,
precision,
right?
though?
Yeah?
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'll get into it in a second how they've changed that. Or maybe I should just talk about it now. Essentially what happened was when they first started making the game, and you can slice anything. Literally, they
Yeah.
meant it. You could slice anything.
That was the main game conceit, right? The free slicing mechanic.
Right. The trailer even showed like slicing a car in half, slicing a building in half. Well, what happened was Kojima Productions could never figure out how to turn that into a real game. Basically, what they said was the testers would just cut the whole world down and would have no concern for actually doing what they wanted them to do. And Kojima actually made an analogy to Grand Theft Auto and said, I would imagine when they were building Grand Theft Auto 3 and they decided they were going to let anyone get into any car they wanted and go wherever they wanted, their question was, how do we convince the player to do what we want them to do? And this was the conundrum that Kojima Productions was never able to solve. Ever. Which, yeah, I don't know. To me, there's pretty simple answers there, which I think maybe that part of that lends into the corporate culture of Japan, where if you're not at a certain place in your career, you're not allowed to even suggest things. It's like you just don't let them chop everything. It's like that's all you have to do. You have to create a barrier. Let them chop mostly everything, but at some point they get to a place where there's like a concrete wall or something that they can't chop.
So
Or
do
maybe
do
if
know
you
how it
include
works
it,
now?
So now that's how it works now. They're just like, well, we just don't let everyone chop everything. It's like, and you couldn't figure that out on your own at Kojima Productions.
Take my money.
So essentially what happened was the game was canceled last
outright
December.
canned.
Outright canned. Kojima finished Peace Walker and went to pop in to look at the development of Rising. He went in and looked at it, and it was a complete mess. Disaster, no game. Basically, all they had at that point was you can cut anything. It was running in the Fox engine as well, which is Kojima's new engine he debuted to us not long ago. So started talking to the developers. The developers had no answers for all his problems. They couldn't figure out how to design the game, how to make it a game. The team members also would not give up on trying to put stealth in the game, which just boggles my mind. They couldn't figure out how to make the game without stealth. It's like you just take it out. It's
Yeah.
like,
Why would you even want to? I thought the point of Rising was
It
that
made
it was like
no
an
sense.
action, spin on Metal
so
Gear.
he canned the game completely and basically said, I put this in your hands. You were unable to do it. Project's dead. And I did catch wind of that early this year. And I was like, oh, I don't know if that's true. Then E3 came around and we started hearing rumblings about a voice actor saying that he had not been called back to do more voice acting for the game. Then the game doesn't show up at E3, and that's at that point I'm like, okay, I think what I heard is probably true. So what happened is the game sits canceled for about a month and a half. He runs into Inaba at a party in Japan, and he starts talking to Inaba, and he's like, hey, I have this game lying around. We haven't been able to figure out how to finish it. Would you be interested in working on it?
It's like selling a used car. Hey, you
Right.
want this?
Well, apparently Inaba didn't believe him and left the party thinking he was just bullshitting him. Well, he runs into him again a week later, and Kojima's like, you never got back to me about that. And he's like, you weren't joking? And he's like, no, I'm not joking. Do you want to work on the game? He's like, well, hell yeah. So they basically send Platinum everything they have and just give it to them.
Basically, didn't they just rip the guts of the mocap and the cinematics and said, here are the assets, building it?
Well, they
around
gave
it.
him everything
Yeah.
at first. So Platinum takes the game, has it for a week, and sends Kojima Productions a document basically laying out the entire design and how it'll be fixed. And Kojima looks at it and is like, oh, you guys are brilliant. You're geniuses. You're making the game.
See, the thing here is that how good is Kojima Productions after all if they can't do it?
Yeah, that's the big question, right? His young teams, and if you watch the full Q&A, which it should be on GT by now, it is literally an hour and 40 minutes. We tried to find a way to sex it up. There is no way to do it. So if you're a hardcore Kojima fan, just go watch that sucker because it's probably the most candid you will have ever seen him. It is straight up an hour and 40 minutes of him just there with the journalist answering every question until no one had any more questions left. So if you're a fan of his, go watch it. You'll get to know the guy just by watching that stuff. So they send the doc back after a week, have already figured out how to fix it. So they go and they try to build the game. They could not build the game on the Fox engine. They could never get it running faster than 30 frames per second. Although they said it looked amazing, they couldn't get it running quickly. So Platinum has actually abandoned the Fox engine and has now rebuilt the game from scratch using its own engine. So what you see now, Platinum's only worked on for 8 or 9 months, and they already got it to that place while still having, and the one thing, like you said, they did bring over was the mocap, some of the voice acting and some of that stuff. But otherwise, Platinum has built this game from scratch, and ultimately completed the design doc for it. So going back to what you say, does that shine well on Kojima Productions?
It's not very flattering.
No, it doesn't. And the one question that I got to ask Kojima, I'm like, look, you gave your young team this game, and putting it politely, I said they were unable to finish it. So in the future, 1, will you give these guys big projects? And 2, will you be more hands-on with every project that comes to your studio? And his answer to 1 was, no, I will not give them big projects. And the answer to number 2 is, hell yeah, I'm going to be micromanager on every project we have coming out of here from now on.
I was reading another interview somewhere online, and just to rub salt in the wounds, Kojima said something along the lines like, yeah, I wanted Rising to be the test for my team to see if a leader would rise up. And then
no one did.
No one did. So and the question was asked, do you think that could ever potentially happen again? He's like, well, I don't think so. I think from now on, I'm just going to hire outside the company. I was like, ooh.
No, that was from the Q&A.
Ouch.
That was his response to my question, actually, is that he's going to have to look outside his company for a leader to finish his games. Mm-hmm. The worst part of the whole thing was we get there, we all sit down, they're like, all right, we're going to show you a video. This video was literally 12 of Kojima Productions members going on camera, one after the other to say how they failed.
Oh, man.
It was like seppuku in video form. I just sat there with my mouth hanging open. I felt horrible for these people. And after it ended, I asked Konami, I'm like, are you going to give us that to put on GT, that little mini documentary? Because it actually was cut really well and like really polished. And he's like, oh, yeah, it'll be on the FTP tomorrow. It wasn't.
How humiliating.
Rich, who's sitting here, was actually there and watched that documentary. I could not even believe that they
I'm sorry,
That's
just
shocking.
bollocks. That's really
I mean, it was literally, about 12 of the guys from Koji Pro, one after another saying, I couldn't figure it out, I sucked, he came in, I begged for him to save the project, he wouldn't save the project. Like, I just was like, why would you shame all your people? Like, it's such a different culture, man.
And you know what? That's sick and fucking twisted to do that, to publicly humiliate these people. And I had a lot of
journalists.
I had a lot of respect for Kojima up until actually Saturday night, because if you want to come and present a video at the Video Game Awards in the US, learn the fucking language. So you can say your speech, learn it phonetically. Biggest fucking insult of the night was him up there dicking around, not being able to speak the language. Now you telling me this today, I now have zero respect for him, because if you can't be a good boss, if you can't encourage people and lead them in a good way, you should just fuck off and join the unemployment line. And I don't care if any Kojima fanboys are taking the piss out of me right now on the fucking website. I don't give a flying fuck. The guy can suck my balls.
Well, look at this. Imagine if, I made this crazy video about you guys and how, we were working on this great project and these guys couldn't figure it out. Now I'm going to put Ryan on camera talking about how he failed. I didn't even enter the realm of reason.
The reason I get so angry,
Moses,
sorry, Ryan, I know you're going to be...
No, I'm just saying. No, Shane, you said it earlier though. It's a cultural thing. I don't want to get into it. I don't want to get into it. I don't want to get into a Japan off.
No, I'm not going to the culture thing. I'm just saying.
And I think you're completely wrong with him flubbing this line.
I have worked for cocksuckers like that in the past. I have no fucking time for them. I won't piss on them if they're on fire.
Flubbing the line, I think you maybe are being a little bit too aggro.
He does it every time. I mean, he's perfectly capable. He's a very smart man. He's perfectly capable of phonetically learning an introductory speech as opposed to flubbing through it and looking like a total tool on television.
He might have been nervous, but also I don't think Kojima made the staff do it. I think just out of their own sense of...
Well, there's no way to know that. But the bottom line is he brought the tape and showed it to us. And that ultimately was his decision to do that.
If he didn't want to show it, it wouldn't have been shown, wouldn't have seen the light of day.
And he did. He showed it to the biggest journalist in the industry. And I was just sitting there with my mouth hanging open. I couldn't even believe it. I'm like, why would you do this? If you have a team that's already admitted defeat and is downtrodden, why do you smear them into the mud? Like, they've already come clean and said, look, I failed at this. I'm sorry. It doesn't do anyone any good to do something like that.
It's not very tasteful at all.
And so let's talk about the game at least briefly. I know we're running out of time here. the game has a lot of parkour in it, and that was the one thing we got to see in the 10-minute video. They did cut in some gameplay, so we get to see a lot more from the game than what they showed in the trailer that everyone's seen.
The trailer just shows like 3 seconds of actual fighting, and then that whole canned sequence at the end when he's fighting the Metal Gear Ray.
Well, no, I mean, they actually show some parkour in that trailer. He runs around the tunnel, around the roof of the tunnel.
That's not a cutscene?
No,
Okay.
that's the game. Like, it does that. You can run on any wall, any surface. It's really fast. Yeah, and they haven't changed the slicing at all. It's still just as accurate and, minute as it was before. You just can't slash as many things. Take out the fact that it's Metal Gear, which is hard for some people. It looks like a pretty fun action-adventure game to me.
Does it? The first impression I got was that it looked a little clunky.
Well, they said their biggest problem that they had with the slicing was that it slowed down the game because they wanted to be very fast and frenetic, but people would stop and start slicing and just keep slicing to see, how finite they could chop things up.
Was it actually there live?
No, the game was not there. But like I said, they cut in a bunch of extra gameplay B-roll, and the B-roll was like, it wasn't cut together like like freaking ADD. It was like they would show like him running into the scene, him being addressed by the enemies, and you could actually watch kind of the flow of the combat. You could see him running into the scenes using parkour. So you got a better sense of like how the flow of the game works versus that trailer, which was just cut like
thank
crazy.
God Platinum's doing the controls because
Right.
Metal Gear games are great, but I always thought the controls were not the strongest.
They're only
feature.
serviceable, pretty much.
And I've never actually played enough of Zone of the Enders to know if that had better.
No, it had great controls, though.
Okay, so maybe my
the
fears
big
are a little
innovation in
unfounded.
this, and this is a world exclusive reveal here for the chopping and everything. They are including Kinect support.
I wouldn't be surprised.
No, they would.
And
they
the
will not do
parkour,
that.
you got to
Mini
run
game?
up a wall.
I guarantee it will not do
that was
that.
a gag. That
Yeah.
was a joke.
I mean, that was-
for those of you who didn't get it.
I mean, that
I
was
wouldn't
one
be
of the.
surprised if there was a mini game though.
No, they're not going to do it. I'll bet you $100 they won't do it.
I'm waiting for Kinect videos now of people running up the wall parkour styling to
Yeah.
prep for a vengeance.
But one thing I would say is to the Metal Gear fans, I get it. It does kind of toss the cannon underneath the bus a little bit. It's granted Metal Gear's always been fantastical, but I think it does go over the top when he picks up Ray. It's like, yeah, well, why didn't you do that in Metal Gear 4? Like, where were you? So I get it doesn't fit the canon. Also, the story now takes place after Metal Gear Solid 4. Originally, the story was penned to be in between Metal Gear Solid 2 and 4. And so they had to completely scrap the story and rewrite the story again now that it's set after MGS4. So I think people need to give it a chance. I think it could end up being a really cool, really fun action game. Platinum really hasn't let me down in too many cases yet. And I think maybe people need to maybe let the license slide a little bit and just accept it for what it is, like Platinum's next hack and slash. All right, so that's it for me in 2011. How many shows did we do this year, guys? God,
50, 48.
we may have hit almost every week this year. Usually we have like those little hiatuses, but I think we only missed like maybe 1 or 2 weeks all year.
No, actually, I think the week between Christmas and New Year's will be the first. Well, yeah, we'll have done 51 shows this year.
Yeah, it's been quite a run. Next year, there going to be a lot of big changes on Invisible Walls, folks. We're not going to blow the show up completely, but we are going to try some really cool, really fun stuff with the show. We've been doing it kind of the same way for, God, a long time now. So 3 years. It's amazing. So, I do want to thank you guys for supporting the show all year. Not just that, all the crazy things I've asked you to do. Go to Twitter, do this. Go to Facebook, do that. I really appreciate it. Your support. Without you guys, we do not have a site. I do not have the ability to take a vacation over the holidays. You guys mean the world to me. So thank you for your support here on GT. Our Game of the Year awards are starting to roll out on Monday, and then we'll roll out like 3 or 4 per day, every day until I believe it's December 30th. We give away our Game of the Year award. And I think overall our awards are going to surprise you guys. Some pleasantly, some maybe not pleasantly. But they are definitely different this year. In years past, we always get criticized for the same games winning awards over and over. Somehow, some way it worked out this year that did not end up being the case. So make sure you check them out. I think you guys are going to like them. You're definitely going to get fired up over them. I'll see you guys all next year in 2012. Invisible Walls is up and out.